Have you ever gotten home from a store, looked at your shopping cart, and just thought, wait a second, how did all this get in here? What is it that actually makes us choose one brand over another? Or, buy something we didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago? Well, we're going to get into it, because the answer is a really fascinating look inside our own minds. But first, think about this for a second. Companies spend millions, sometimes billions of dollars on R&D, on marketing, you name it. And yet, even with all that effort, the huge majority of new products are basically doomed from the start. So the big question is, why? Well, the clue, it turns out, is all about understanding us.
And we are not talking about small, unknown brands here. These are some of the biggest names in the game. New Coke is like the legendary marketing blunder. Crystal Pepsi, a total miss. And yep, you heard that right. Colgate, the toothpaste company, actually tried to sell frozen dinners. It really just proves that even the giants can get it completely, spectacularly wrong.
So, to solve this whole mystery, we need to do a little investigation. First, we'll look at the mystery of the cart. Then we'll dig into the mind's hidden drivers. After that, we'll see how brands actually shape our habits. And finally, we're going to look at the most personal clue of all, the role you play in your own purchases.
All right, let's start digging. The very first step in figuring out why so many products fail is getting a handle on this complex thing called consumer behavior. It's really the key that unlocks why some products just fly off the shelves, while others sit there collecting dust.
And cracking that code is everything. It's what separates the huge successes from the epic fails. Just look at Nike's Find Your Greatness campaign. They weren't just selling sneakers, they were selling an idea. They got that their audience wasn't only professional athletes, but everyday people who aspired to be great, whatever that meant to them. That deep, deep understanding of what people hope for, that's the secret sauce. Okay, let's move on to our next set of clues. For this, we have to go deep inside the human mind. We're talking about these powerful psychological forces that are always working just beneath the surface, quietly steering our choices every single day.
So you can see here, our decision-making is really driven by 4 key things. It all kicks off with motivation. That's the spark. Then that spark is filtered through our perception, which is our own unique way of seeing the world. Our experiences then lead to learning, which creates our habits. And this whole thing is built on a foundation of our attitudes and beliefs. Let's break those down.
So yeah, everything begins with motivation. The best way to think about it is like an itch you just have to scratch. It's that internal engine that revs up whenever we feel a need. Doesn't matter if it's for food, for safety, or for the latest smartphone. It's the push that makes us go find a way to satisfy it. And you've probably seen this famous pyramid before. It is the perfect map of our motivations. Maslow's hierarchy shows us we start with the absolute basics: food, water, safety. But once we've got those covered, we start being motivated by higher-level stuff, like belonging, feeling good about ourselves, and eventually becoming the best version of ourselves. A company selling a home security system? They're talking to the bottom of the pyramid. A company selling a Rolex? They're aiming straight for the top. Next up is perception, and this is so important. We don't react to the world as it is. We react to our perception of it. 2 people can look at the exact same product and see completely different things, all based on their past experiences, their values, their expectations. This is why things like branding and a company's reputation are so incredibly powerful. And finally, we have attitudes and beliefs, which are totally intertwined. A belief is just a thought we hold, like, I believe this brand is expensive. An attitude is the feeling or judgment that comes after. Is it expensively good, or is it just a total ripoff? Over time, these attitudes become these mental shortcuts that guide us toward brands we feel good about and away from the ones we don't. All right, let's follow the evidence to our next point. Our brains are built to be efficient, right? Which means we're constantly forming habits. And a ton of what we buy isn't some big active decision. It's really just a learned automatic response, a response that marketers are working very hard to help us create. I'm sure you've heard of Pavlov's dogs, right? They were conditioned to salivate at the sound of a bell simply by associating that sound with getting food. Well, that's the core of classical conditioning, creating an unconscious link between 2 things. It's a kind of passive learning that marketers use all the time by connecting their products to a feeling, a song, or an image that we already like.
But there's another type of learning that's a lot more active. It's called operant conditioning. The big difference here is consequence. See, classical conditioning is all about association, linking a jingle to a soda. Operant conditioning is about rewarding a specific behavior that you choose to do. That loyalty card that gives you a free coffee after you buy 10? Bingo, that's operant conditioning.
And here's basically how it works. When one of your behaviors, like buying a certain product, is followed by something positive, a reward, a discount, maybe just a really great customer experience, you're way more likely to do it again. The whole goal for brands is to make buying from them a rewarding, repeatable habit.
So think about it. When you're buying something simple like paper towels or salt, you're not exactly doing a ton of research. You pretty much just grab the brand you're familiar with. And why is that? It's because through tons of repetition in ads and simple, memorable logos, marketers have basically conditioned you to recognize it and trust it without you even having to think about it.
Okay, for our last section, we're turning the magnifying glass on the most unique piece of the puzzle, you. Our individual personalities, our self-concept, the way we choose to live our lives, these are the final and most crucial parts of solving the mystery of why we buy.
According to Sigmund Freud's famous psychoanalytic theory, our personality is basically a constant battle between three different parts. First, you've got the id. That's your impulsive primal side screaming, I want it and I want it now. Then there's the superego. That's your inner moral compass, the part that represents all of society's rules. And stuck right in the middle is the ego, the practical referee trying to work out a compromise.
And this perfectly captures a classic dilemma we all face when we shop. Your id sees that beautiful, expensive handbag and wants it right now. But then your superego pipes up, reminding you about your rent, your budget, your responsibilities. And that's when your ego steps in to mediate. Maybe it decides you can save up for it, or maybe it finds a more affordable alternative that still feels special.
So beyond our deep psychology, marketers are also super interested in our lifestyle. And this isn't just about what you do for work, it's the whole pattern of how you live. They use this framework called AIO. That stands for Activities, Interests, and Opinions, to get a full 360-degree view of who you really are.
So what does this AIO research actually look at? Well, the A is for activities. How do you spend your time? Where do you spend your money? The I is for interests. What do you care about? What are you passionate about? And the O is for opinions. What are your views on social issues, on products, on yourself? Put it all together, and you get a really detailed profile of a type of consumer.
And this kind of profile isn't just some abstract theory. It gives companies real, practical insights. AIO research might find that a target customer is really careful with their money, but they love anything that saves them time. So what does a company do? Well, they design time-saving products like microwavable meals or electric kitchen gadgets, and then they promote them with coupons and deals to appeal directly to that specific person's lifestyle.
And with that, the case is solved. So, why do we buy what we buy? Well, as you've seen, there is no one simple answer. It's this incredibly complex and fascinating mix of our deepest psychological needs, the habits we've been taught, that constant negotiation going on inside our own heads, and of course, the unique way that each of us chooses to live our life.
Which leaves us with one last thing for you to think about. That last thing you bought. Doesn't matter if it was a cup of coffee or a new phone. Take a second and really ask yourself, who was calling the shots in that decision? Was it the impulsive, gotta have it now desire of your id? The practical, balanced negotiation of your ego? Or the moral, should I be doing this, judgment of your superego? The answer might actually surprise you.